The tools of punishment on cotton plantations were as sophisticated in their cruelty as they were in their execution. The infamous Catad Ninetails, a whip made with multiple strands, tore through the skin with each brutal lash. Overseers would count each lash meticulously, adding to the psychological torment. This calculated punishment wasn't just about disciplining. It was designed to break the spirit and instill terror. Other forms of punishment included branding and ear cropping, marking individuals in permanent ways. Workers who dared to attempt escape would be severely punished, sometimes to the point of disfigurement. Iron collars, worn around the neck, and sometimes equipped with spikes, were used to prevent workers from sleeping. These collars were left on for weeks, causing severe pain, infections, and permanent scarring. On certain plantations, workers were even made to wear masks made of iron, ensuring that any movement would draw attention and alert the overseers. These masks, which were designed to suffocate the wearer and cause immense discomfort, stood as a symbol of complete submission. At the infamous Belmont Plantation in Mississippi, Overseer Thomas Dabney took punishment to another level by meticulously calculating how many lashes would be dealt based on the daily cotton quota. His graduated correction system created a horrifying certainty that each worker would be punished for failing to meet their impossible tasks. This system didn't just break bonds, it broke souls, systematically destroying any sense of individual worth. But the cruelty didn't stop with physical punishment. Psychological torment was just as pervasive. Family separations were frequently used to control enslaved individuals. Children were sold away from their parents as punishment for even the slightest offenses. These separations left deep emotional scars and a generation of people who grew up without the comforting presence of a mother, father, or a sibling. The psychological toll of not knowing if a family member would be next to be sold away was a constant weight on the minds of these workers. While the physical and emotional cruelty inflicted on enslaved people was unimaginable, their resilience is what defines the stories of survival. Despite the torturous conditions, many enslaved individuals found ways to resist, even if those acts of defiance were small. Some passed down survival techniques and healing practices in secret, preserving knowledge that helped others endure. Others, like Harriet Tubman, dedicated their lives to escaping and helping others escape. Tubman, the most famous conductor of the Underground Railroad, would often say, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves." Her words echo the strength of those who resisted by any means necessary. The human spirit's resilience was evident even in the small moments of dignity. Acts of resistance were often hidden from overseers and plantation owners, but they were crucial. For example, some workers maintained their pride by singing songs in the fields that conveyed messages of hope and solidarity. These spirituals, which often carried coded instructions for escape routes, were a form of resistance that allowed individuals to assert their humanity in the face of dehumanization. As brutal as the conditions were, there were moments where the workers found a sense of unity and strength. Many found solace in maintaining relationships with one another, supporting each other in secret and showing that, despite everything, their bonds couldn't be broken. Whether through shared knowledge of herbal remedies, passing down family stories, or organizing quiet revolts, the human desire for freedom remained undiminished. While overseers and plantation owners sought to strip enslaved people of their identity, some individuals continued to find ways to assert their humanity. Despite the intense hardship, the stories of these individuals who not only survived but resisted stand as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. The strength to survive and fight back, even when the odds seemed insurmountable, is what makes these stories so powerful. However, the brutality of the cotton plantation system, designed to extract wealth while crushing its workers, cannot be ignored. The sheer inhumanity of it all, from the conditions workers lived in to the punishments they endured, is a stark reminder of how a system can be used to break people physically and psychologically. But even in the darkest corners of this system, the flame of resistance burned brightly, often unseen but never extinguished. In the end, the cotton fields weren't just sites of labor exploitation, they were zones of resistance. Every day that workers endured was a small victory. Every small act of survival was a triumph over a system designed to crush their spirit. Sojourner Truth's powerful words, "Ain't I a woman?" captured the essence of this resistance. Women, men, and children faced unimaginable hardship, but continued to fight for their humanity, creating a legacy of resilience that still resonates today. This history of suffering and resistance is not only a testament to the strength of individuals, but also a crucial reminder of the need for justice and recognition of those who endured it. Their stories deserve to be remembered not just as a catalogue of horrors, but as a powerful declaration of human dignity and defiance. The tools of punishment used on cotton plantations were as sophisticated in their cruelty as they were relentless in their execution. The infamous cat o' nine tails, a whip made with multiple strands, would tear into the flesh with every brutal lash. Overseers would count each lash meticulously, adding a psychological torment to the already excruciating physical pain. This calculated system of punishment was not merely about discipline. It was about breaking the spirit of the workers, instilling a fear so deep that it crippled their will to resist. Other forms of punishment included branding and ear cropping, marking individuals in permanent ways. Branding, often done with a hot iron, was a way to publicly declare ownership of a human being, reducing them to nothing more than property. Earcropping, similarly, was a brutal method of marking an individual who had tried to escape, ensuring that any runaway would face even harsher punishment upon recapture. The use of iron collars to prevent sleep or escape was a regular practice. These collars, often spiked, caused immense pain and were worn for extended periods, leaving permanent scars on the bodies of the workers. On certain plantations, workers were subjected to even more innovative forms of torture. For example, the Oak Alley Plantation in Louisiana housed iron masks, designed to suffocate the wearer and ensure that even the slightest movement would alert the overseers. These masks were a constant reminder of the workers' lack of agency, a daily instrument of psychological and physical control. At the Belmont Plantation in Mississippi, overseer Thomas Dabney took his methods of punishment to terrifying heights. He maintained what he called a graduated correction system, where each pound of cotton not picked by the workers would result in a precise number of lashes. This system created a certainty of punishment for every failure, ensuring that workers never had a chance to escape their torment. For every misstep, for every quota unmet, the workers knew they would be whipped, branded, or worse. Yet, the most insidious form of punishment wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Family separations became a regular tool of control. Children were sold away from their parents as punishment for even the smallest infractions, leaving parents broken and shattered. These separations weren't merely disciplinary actions. They were weapons designed to keep enslaved people powerless, stripping away any semblance of family and community. For many, the uncertainty of whether they would be torn apart from their loved ones was as agonizing as any physical wound. Despite this overwhelming brutality, the human spirit found ways to resist, to survive. Even in the face of systemic dehumanization, enslaved individuals found ways to preserve their humanity. They passed down survival techniques, secret healing practices, and, most importantly, hope. Harriet Tubman, one of the most renowned conductors of the Underground Railroad, famously said, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves." Tubman's words encapsulate the resilience and determination of the many who refused to accept their fate. The resilience of these workers was not limited to their actions of physical resistance. Through songs, spirituals, and whispered stories, they maintained a connection to their cultural identity and their humanity. Songs sung in the fields were more than just melodies. They were a form of communication, passing down crucial information about escape routes and strategies. The spirit of resistance burned brightly, even when it was hidden from the overseers and plantation owners. Acts of defiance, even in the smallest of forms, kept the fire of hope alive. Workers found ways to maintain their dignity, asserting their worth despite the system that sought to destroy them. They managed to keep alive the notion that they were not just property, but human beings with inherent value. Whether it was through quiet acts of resistance, secret resistance networks, or simple gestures of solidarity, enslaved people defied their oppressors every single day. Though the brutality of the cotton plantations was undeniable, so too was the remarkable resilience of those who survived it. The brutal system that aimed to crush their spirit failed to completely extinguish their will to resist. Despite the overwhelming odds, they persevered. They survived through acts of defiance, through community bonds, through faith, and through the unyielding desire for freedom. The cotton fields were not just sites of forced labor, they were also battlegrounds for the human spirit. Every moment spent in survival was a small victory. Every person who escaped, who resisted, or who simply survived the grueling conditions stood as a testament to the strength and resilience of the human soul. Sojourner Truth's famous declaration encapsulates the defiance that lived within the hearts of enslaved people. This story, full of brutality, resistance, and survival, is not just a piece of history, it is a powerful reminder of the strength that can emerge in the face of unimaginable suffering. The stories of those who endured and those who fought back are legacies that must never be forgotten. Their struggles demand recognition, not as a mere historical account of horrors, but as a celebration of human strength, resilience, and the fight for dignity.